obviously we don't want to start the game like the way it started, but I think I had our minds, hey, this is an opportunity to bounce back, stay in the game, do your thing, show people that you can, counter damage, and I did. I mean, I held the game right there. Our guys scored, a bunch of runs in the fifth, I think, and we win the ball game. So, yeah, I feel pretty well tonight. Healthy, strong. I was command. My fastball was out of the play, so it was a great night.
Yeah, it certainly was, and it's all downhill from this point on for the Toronto Blue Jays. 8-2, the Blue Jays beating the Tampa Bay Rays last night as Blair and Barker. That was Jose Barrios, who got the opening day start for the Blue Jays and gave up a home run to the first batter he faced. Got in a little bit of trouble in the middle innings and pitched himself out of it. And the Jays offense took care of the rest.
Yeah, it's about time.
It's about time. It's the
let's not lie
first
about it.
game of the year. It's about time. What?
You know what that means? I just can't wait to watch today's game. That's what that means.
Let's bring in Dan Shulman, Blue Jays play-by-play voice on Sportsnet. Mr. Shulman, Barker says it's about time that they did something in 2024.
I know. I just looked at my phone to see if it was March or August. I was confused there for a second.
Well, I'm going to tell you a little story because our man, Mr. Barker, scuffling a bit today because I got a call from him like 8:30 this morning, and I hear he's in the car, and he says, "Hey, is today Good Friday?" and I said, "Yeah, it is Good Friday, and if you looked on your cell phone, you could probably find out that it's Good Friday." He goes, "Oh." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, he ended up taking his son to school, and he was a little surprised when he got
Whoa.
Nobody in the parking lot.
So it's understandable that Barker's in a hurry to get this going.
Yeah.
But has Kevin told Mama Bear that, or is he keeping that one to himself?
Yeah, I got yelled at. You're supposed to know all these things when I'm gone. Well, how dare you get my son up this early? Yeah, wear it.
You know what, though? That's a crime of commission, not omission. Your heart was in the right place.
There you go. Yeah. That is right. You stand guilty of being an attentive father. Very good.
Yeah,
he tried to make a play. Yeah. He tried to make a play. That's what he did. Yeah.
He tried to make a play. That's right.
I made a 16-year career out of trying.
That's just a segue. It's perfect here. I mean, the Jays made a lot of plays, obviously, at the plate last night, Dan. I mean, look, it is one game. We get that. But that inning looked an awful lot like right out of the Don Mattingly. I know he doesn't have a playbook, but if he did, that's what it would look like.
Yeah, and Buck and I have talked about it. You guys have talked about it. Joseph, everybody. They're preaching lay off what you can't do damage with, and then do damage with what you can. And it's kind of, patience and power. And we saw both last night. They drew 7 walks. They hit 3 home runs. So it's 1 out of 162. Nobody wants to get crazy or draw conclusions, but they did it off a pretty good pitcher as well. And I thought a lot of what we saw in the spring, we saw carry over into last night. Certainly didn't look like it the first 3 innings. They were 9 up, 9 down with 5 strikeouts the first 3 innings. But they obviously second and third time through the order, they did much better. So, yeah, good start. And now, you guys know baseball. Good start. Do it again, right? There's always a do it again. There's a game the next day. And we'll see. Teams will have all kinds of highs and lows over 162, but it's nice to see them get off on the right foot.
Dan, do you think they feel confident enough to run IKF at third consistently, even if he's not hit?
I think that's one of the many to be determined about this team. If he hits great, I think he'll play 6 days a week. If he doesn't, I think we'll see Ernie Clement can slide over there. Kevin Biggio can slide over there. They've got options, obviously, that they can put over there. I think the second base and third base situations to me are kind of a combo platter of it depends. If Davis Schneider hits great, you got to find at bats for him, and then whether that means more left field or whether that means Kevin Biggio plays more third or first or right. Conversely, if Ernie Clement hits great, you got to find more at bats for him. So, we're 1 day in, and I think they're going to give everything at least a couple of weeks to try to sort itself out. But I would imagine if we have this conversation in the middle of September and look back at second base and third base, it might have gone through a number of iterations, really. But he can pick it. We all know he can play third base. If he can raise the offense a little bit from his career norms, that'll help. But those are the two spots, second and third, where I think they're, open to being flexible over the course of the season.
And I know you were down there a lot this spring, and certainly kept in touch with people down there. Were you surprised at all that John Schneider eventually decided to go with Guerrero in the number 2 hole and Bo in the 3rd spot?
Let me back up one second. I neglected to mention Justin Turner, too, back to Kevin's question. I think Justin Turner's going to play some third base, too, this year. Okay. I don't know if it's 12 starts or 50 starts, but I think he'll play there some, too. Yep. In terms of Vladdy being second, a little bit, because I don't think it happened much until like the last week of the spring, unless I'm mistaken. Yep. I think most of the time early it was Bo and then Vladdy. What Schneider said, what I remember Schneider saying a couple of days ago when he said, is they want to separate similar kinds of hitters. And if you're looking at the top 4, to me that means they'd rather have Springer and Bichette separated by a guy. And they're not really similar hitters, but it's tough to label any of them. Like, I don't want to say the wrong thing about why you would pick those two to separate. I'm actually one of these guys who thinks that Bo Bichette, if you put him in the right spot in the order and he's got guys on in front of him, this guy could drive in 110 runs. I think Bo is more of a run producer than run creator, if you know what I mean. He's going to, he's not a huge on base guy, but boy, he's going to, he's going to drive in runs if the guys on base, the guys in front of him get on base. I don't get too, up in arms about any of this. Like, if we're talking in a month and Turner's hitting second, Vladdy third, Bo fourth, wouldn't shock me. Or, Bo 2, Turner 3, and Vladdy 4th wouldn't shock me. I'm not overly concerned about the order of 2, 3, 4. I think I think the biggest part of the whole thing at the top, to be honest with you, is if George Springer has a good year. Because if George Springer, remember they dropped him last year to 4, and I even think to 5 a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. If George is not having a great year, I don't know who the next best candidate to lead off is on this team right now. So I think it all starts with Springer. But to be honest with you, 2, 3, and 4, I'm not overly bothered by however they line him up.
Dan, every time I watch Alejandro Kirk this year and in spring training, he just looks like he's more into his base. He's a little wider. He looks stronger. Now, optics-wise, he don't look any different to me, right? I don't know about, conditioning-wise, if he's lost any weight. I don't even care. I just know he looks stronger. His bat looks quicker. And we had a caller last night after the game call in and ask, why wouldn't they take him out with a big lead to sort of keep his conditioning sharp so he can last longer because of what's going on with Danny Jansen? You have any idea how they're going to use it? Now, we're getting John on here at the bottom of the hour, and I will ask him this, like, what's the plan? How are you going to, figure out how to get the best offense out of Kirk? But do you have any idea? Have you heard anything about, how they may do this?
So I think they're going to play him a lot until Jansen is back. Now, to me, a lot is 4 out of 5. In my mind, 4 out of 5 is the max. That Servin's got to get 1 start each turn. Because even in a game where Servin starts, Kirk could pinch hit for him, right? Or Vogelback could pinch hit for him, and then Kirk could come in the last couple of innings. So Alejandro's going to play a lot. I agree with you. I think he looks better in every respect this year. We know he got to camp. When you're expected to, last year because of the birth of his daughter, he was weeks late getting to camp and maybe he never caught up. I think he looks great. And if you said to me, there's been a lot of talk, as you guys know, but we've all done it with Springer and Guerrero and Varsho and Kirk, those 4 guys, returning guys need to do more this year. If I had to put a nickel on one of them, getting the closest to their best season in the past, I think it would be Kirk. I just feel that Kirk looks really good and he's in a good place. In terms of playing time, what I have heard Schneider say is part of it with Servin and Kirk, part of it is going to be day game after night game. And whether that means Kirk sits the night game or the day game is irrelevant, but he'll sit one of the two in all likelihood when it's a day game after a night game. And the other part of the equation is what pitcher is throwing. I don't know this, but I have a sneaky little suspicion that Bowden Francis is going to throw to him. And we don't know yet if Bowden's going to throw Sunday or Monday. It's between him and Gosman. One will start Sunday, one Monday. And that probably is going to be determined by how Kevin Gosman says he feels in the next day or two. So I think at the beginning, Servin might catch Francis. although I don't know that. I'm just making a hunch here. But I think it's a combo of that and day game after night game. But, on this 10-game road trip, I think Kirk's going to catch 8 of the 10 games. And it wouldn't shock me if that's the way it is until Jansen comes back.
Now, I know that everybody turned the page or said they turned the page on last year, but I asked Kevin this last night. I think for optics, it was important that Jose Barrios have the kind of start he had yesterday, considering the way the season ended, and I'm not going to relitigate that or go through it again. But I really did get the sense, just watching him last night, hearing what he said after the game, I got the sense that he was very pleased with the way he pitched. And, the fact is, my friend Mr. Barker said yesterday, I thought in that inning where he got in a little bit of trouble, he made a bit of a self-adjustment. He corrected his release point, seemed to be down in the zone a little more.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was great. You give up a home run to the first batter you face in the regular season, and that's got to be jarring. I don't care who you are. So, and then he was terrific from then on into the sixth, gave up a hard hit double. I think it was Pinto hit the double. And then the other double was on the flare that Springer tried to make the catch on and couldn't. Now, if he pulls up, it's a base hit. They probably eventually score the run anyway. So, no matter how you slice it, it's 6 innings, 2 runs. But I thought he looked just like himself. Like the slurve was slurvy, and it was moving all over the place, and he got a lot of swings and misses from righties, and he was spotting his pitch as well. I thought he looked exactly like the guy who threw 32 starts during the regular season last year. It was interesting the day before, so 2 days ago, when he did his media deal in the dugout, he was asked some questions about last year and the Twins and all that. And, as you guys know, Jose Barrios he's not somebody who's making headlines with his, with his comments. But somebody, pressed him a couple of times, and he said, hey, we're all grown men. We talked it out. He was talking about, I think, coaches, management, players, everybody. We're all grown men. We talked it out. Everybody's good. We turn the page. And I think players do that so much better than media or fans do sometimes, right? Because they have to. He's got to focus on Yandy Diaz and the Tampa Bay Rays. So I thought he had a great outing. And we talked about it a little bit on the broadcast last night, and I didn't do a great job describing it. But, every visiting ballpark we're in, you walk down the hall from the elevator to the clubhouse or the dugout, and, you're going to see Jose Barrios doing something, working out or stretching or lifting or whatever the case may be. The guy, keeps himself in unbelievable condition. And if his numbers at the end of this year are remarkably similar to what they were at the end of last year, I don't think anybody should be surprised.
Dan, I saw Jimmy Garcia getting up in the 6th inning. The people you've talked to, and maybe you've talked to Jimmy, you think he can handle this? This is, it's odd it wasn't Chad Green. I think coming off Tommy John, you got to be careful about screwing around with routines and getting him up and sitting him down and getting him up again and not pitching him. And I think they sort of need a set routine with him of, it's the 8th or 9th inning, it ain't the 6th inning. Do you think mentally and stuff-wise, the people you've talked to, that Jimmy can handle this?
I do, and I have a little note on my phone, and it's just called Things to Ask, and it's in my Things to Ask note today, is to talk to Jimmy about it. I think, and I hadn't gone to the Chad Green, Tommy John area. I hadn't thought of that, and maybe that's it. I think they've always thought as Jimmy Garcia as more of the get out of an inning guy if they needed somebody. Get a ball in the ground, maybe get a double play. I can't remember exactly what the runner situation was when they got him up in the bullpen. I think it had to do partially too with where Tampa Bay was in the order. But you might be right. They might want to try to regulate Chad Green's type of use a little bit more, clean inning, rather than coming in the middle and having to come back out for another inning. I think probably they can use Jimmy in different ways right now. I've talked to Chad Green a few times about it. He is 200% past any worry about Tommy John. And he said he took his rehab, and I think they didn't have room for him on the roster, or they were trying to figure it out, but And he just said, my rehab assignment last year was thorough. He was down there for a while pitching in the minors. And then I said, and did it help that you had 6 or 7 appearances with the Jays? And he goes, actually, I had 12. And I forget, it didn't seem like that many to me. But he said, I'm totally good. I am totally past it. And, mentally, physically, and all that. And you guys know him. He's a pro's pro, right? So he's been doing this a long time. But I think with Jimmy, and I'll ask today, so I'll send you the answer once I get it. I thought it might have had something to do with man on base, men on base, that sort of thing, and that maybe he's the put out the fire guy if they need him, but he can also be the lock it down in the ninth inning guy if they need him. And that's asking a lot of a guy, but, he's another pro, right? Jimmy's been around a long time. And listen, you don't have Romano, you don't have Swanson. Everybody's got to, buckle up and get going. Everybody's got to do a little bit more to help this bullpen get through this stretch.
I know everybody's optimistic at this time of year for the most part. And I guess unless you're the Colorado Rockies, you're optimistic. Man. But
hey, one bad inning, one bad
inning. Yeah. It's been one bad decade.
50 wins.
One bad decade.
They're awful.
But I get the sense that John Schneider, when he looks at this lineup, he talked to us about this the other day, the top four. Once you get past the top four, though, he likes the fact that he can go righty, lefty, righty. Like he can go lefty, righty, lefty, righty, or righty, lefty, righty, whatever he wants to do in the bottom of the order. I really get the sense that he feels maybe that he has a more, I don't know if I'm going to say a better bench than he's had in the past, but maybe a more complete bench. He's got some contact hitters. It just seems as if he's a little more settled with the bench than we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I think he's got more toys. Yeah, more strings he can pull. I think he does want, and I totally get it. Ideally, I think you want your lefties 5, 7, 9 rather than like 6, 8, 9 or something like that. You just want to make it a little bit harder on the opposing manager. So, and that's why Dalton Varsho is so important. The more he hits, the happier you are leaving him at 5. If he struggles out of the gate and Kirk is hot out of the gate, do you flip them? But now your lefties are 6, 7, 9, and now you're making it much easier on an opposing manager. But I think Schneider's philosophy, and he talked about this a little bit before the game yesterday, is he wants the guys on the bottom to get on and the guys on the top to do damage. That's going to be when he was asked about the identity of the team. And offensively, he wants, good quality at bats. We've all talked about it. Lay off what you can't do damage with, swing at what you can. But he wants the guys at the bottom maybe creating they can run a little bit more down there at the bottom of the order. It's interesting to me that Biggio's in the 9 spot. If you'd asked me 6 weeks ago, I would have said Biggio 7, Kiermaier 9. That's what I would have guessed. And maybe they just like, even though you're dropping him in the order, maybe they like that on-base ability that Cavan has. That makes Springer and Vladdy and Bo a little bit more dangerous if you've got somebody on base more before them. But I agree with you on the bench thing. I think Ernie Clement is going to do a lot of different things for this team. Could be pinch hit, could be pinch run, could be come in and play defense. Vogelback is going to come up. We can all envision, even tonight, 8th inning, down a run, Fairbanks comes in to get the last out, Kiner Falefa is due up. That's a Vogelback spot, right? That's you bring the big boy off the bench and you hope he can hit it over the fence. So Davis Schneider, another guy, and he's really interesting. How are they going to use him? How often will he get in there? I think he's got a chance to get a fair bit of playing time, but I think that is directly related to how much he hits, because he had that incredible hot streak and then he had that cold streak at the end of the year. But I think they love the power and on-base threat that he offers too. So the bench, it doesn't have, like with Espinal here, if Espinal had still been here, you're looking at Espinal and Clement and you're saying, okay, but, when do we use this guy? When do we use that guy? Now everybody on the bench does a different thing. So, and I think that's good. I think, the regulars are going to be out there a lot, obviously, but Springer will get some days. Turner will get some days where they're not in the lineup. So the guys on the bench, I think, will play a little bit more than people think they might.
Danny, we're going to let you scoot. Thanks for doing this, man. Look forward to your call tonight.
Yeah, good luck with your list, too. Your list today.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pretty good one today. And Kevin, just don't drive to school on the way home. Just go straight home today. Okay?
At least I wouldn't have to worry about hearing him complain about traffic today.
Man.
Thanks, Dan. Be well.
Thanks, buddy.
See you guys.
Dan Shulman, he's going to go right away. And
absolutely.
Paul Hazel's already knows.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. She was the first one I talked to.
I mean,
why is there nobody? That was my question. I called her and said,
you didn't even
why
know
is there
it was
nobody?
Good Friday? It's not like you forgot it was Good Friday. You didn't know it was Good Friday.
I just got a lot going on. And when my better half's not here, it's there's a lot happening. So I had to, me keeping that train on the tracks is sometimes not the easiest thing. So, I get it ready and I get it in the car and I drive it to school. And then when there's no school, what do? I need help. So, yeah, it is what it is.
Oh, it is. I mean, as
if that's the worst thing I ever do, Jeff.
Oh, it won't be.
We're good.
It's not been the worst thing. I know the worst. It's not been the worst thing you've ever done. Trust me. That's and Dan Shulman's right. That was an error of commission. You erred because see, you could have just gotten up and.
Well, I appreciate that, Dan. He's a friend.
No,
you could have. He's going to be nice to me.
Yeah,
so.
there is no other way to spin it. Yeah. Didn't she?
Absolutely not.
Why did you have to call somebody and ask if it was good? Didn't you look in your phone?
Well, no, that's not what I said. I said the first thing I said to my wife was, "Why is there nobody at school?"
So you didn't even know.
No,
wow.
I didn't pay any attention. Again, look at the notes. Somebody's going to do work for this show.
First pitch is at 6:50 tonight. Chris Bassett against Aaron Savali.
Never started a game at 6:50.
The 2024 championship. That's what it says here.
I know that. That's the exact time. But
the 2024 championship season.
The underground
will continue
city.
The second game. And John Schneider, the manager of the Blue Jays, will join us at 3:00 for his regular. It's going to be a regular Friday session.
Awesome.
Jeff Passan joins us as well. Lots to talk about after opening day.
There is
that Colorado did.
Well, yeah,
it's going to be worse, Oakland or Colorado.
That's a great question.
Well,
who would win 55 games out of the two?
We'll talk to Jeff.
And how does the Rockies ever get better?
That's another great question. It is Friday. We will go to the back leg line 416-413-3959 is the back. What is the back leg line? Your questions, comments, suggestions for Kevin Barker. Maybe you've
calendar.
Maybe you've got a hot Good Friday story. I
didn't think it's a good story. I had to get up early.
It is a good story. I told several people this story, and
what did they think?
They thought it was hilarious.
I was the only one that must not have thought that was funny.
I mean, they
seriously, you should have seen my face when I drove up to that school, and there was nobody there. It was awful.
I mean, I'm sorry.
It was awful.
I'm sorry about that.
Poor little wife had to hear about it.
So 416-413-3959, the back leg line. Just before we take our break, I wanted to touch on something that Dan talked about with Kevin Biggio and Kevin Kiermaier, and how one of them, like Kevin Kiermaier, was in the 9th spot a lot last year. What do you think, John? We'll ask him, but what do you think John's thinking would be about that?
Oh, well, Kiermaier's trying to get paid. I mean, he said it out loud.
Yeah,
I didn't do something right. Like, I need to hit more homers.
Yeah,
and when you start hitting more homers, you tend to get out a little bit more.
When you try to hit more homers,
yeah, and they're trying to turn it over with somebody on base for George, right? So maybe when he hits 25, maybe 18 of them were worth somebody on base. They're not solo shots. So that's what you're trying to do. It's more Kevin Kiermaier basically coming out and saying my approach has changed. Mm-hmm. Ain't no more me trying to be the best on base guy, 9-hole hitter in baseball. I ain't doing that anymore because I ain't getting paid doing that. I mean, it's all about getting paid.
Yeah.
You know it and I know it. So for him to say that, I think sort of forced Sean into changing things around. And they got a lot of faith in Kevin. Like, you saw it yesterday. He'd fall behind. He'd work the count. He'd walk. Like, that's sort of what they're looking for in that. Don't panic with 2 strikes and stay within yourself. And, and again, Kevin's earned the right to be on the field with the things he's done mechanically. Again, I say that, taller in the phone booth. I mean, you see it all the time. It's no longer that bent over thing, which allows his barrel to work in more quadrants and actually gives him a chance to put the big part of the barrel on the baseball consistently. And when he does that, because he's a big leaguer, sometimes or most of the time, good things are going to happen. So, yeah, he's earned it. And I'm just going to say it. Last night, watching the game, every guy was in the right position in the lineup. It just sort of turned over the way with 2 outs, the right guy was up. It's like with dudes on base, the right guy was up. Like it just seemed to work out that way, right?
And it sounds silly, but when you see the type of big inning you saw, that just reinforces it, right? That you got the right guy up at the right time.
Why Vladdy's hitting second, right. Why Bo's hitting third, and why Kirky's hitting 6th, and where Varsho's at, and why they put Kiermaier there, and where you're hitting Bishop. Like, everything just seemed to look the way it was supposed to look.
416-413-3959, the back leg line. we will take a break and come back, and we'll go to the back leg line. It's
Back
Friday.
leg cities.
It's Friday. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590, The Fan, and Sportsnet. Hey, welcome back to Blair and Barker. It's a Friday. A long weekend, which means there's no school for anybody on Friday.
Yeah.
Good opportunity to sleep in this morning.
Thank you.
Until I was rudely interrupted by...
It's not clock I called you. I mean...
Well, yeah, I was sleeping in. My definition of sleeping in means, sleeping in. Like 10.
I better get a good Christmas card from you.
You know what day Christmas is? It's the 25th of December. Just want to remind you. December 25th. It is Friday, and every Friday we are going to go to the back leg line. Your opportunity to leave questions, comments, salutations, shout at Kevin, etc., etc. 416-413-3959 is the back leg line. Jack from Connecticut. We're going international with the first back leg line call of the 2 to 4 shift. Jack from Connecticut.
Just a quick point. I was just wondering if maybe you could help me out with explaining why in the world did John Schneider bring in Tim Mesa for the ninth inning? He threw something north of 15 pitches. When you're playing 4 games against the Rays, followed by 3 games against the Astros on a 10-day road trip, I'm just having trouble understanding why they would spend Mesa when they're down already. Romano and Swanson. It could have brought in, it says Cabrera then, or Mitch White, or something like that.
Mitch White.
Yeah,
Jack, thanks for the call.
Yeah, look, it's like the call we got about Kirky, like taking him out when you got a big lead. Look, I'm sure they have some of these things scheduled out when guys need to pitch and sort of part of the lineup and who's not ready to pitch and who the guys you don't want to use and who you want to keep sharp and who you're going to use against the lineup the next day. They have some of these things all planned out. So I'm sure there's a really good reason for that. I don't think the first game you read a lot into it.
No, I think Buck and Dan mentioned this. I think Mesa threw in the 25th, so it would have been his third.
It's been a while.
Third day. So yeah, I think that was it as much as anything else at that point in time. You do want to get a guy in a regular routine. I'm sure they mentioned that when I saw when Mesa was warming up, because I was kind of the same thing. I mean, I didn't throw my hands
and also
up or anything.
But I know for a fact they have a lot of confidence in Cabrera. They think that he can get a couple of tough lefties out if they need to in a big spot. So that's why they're not afraid to use Tim Mesa whenever they're going to use him. And to keep him sharp, you got to pitch him.
Yeah,
and if it's his day, they're going to pitch him.
I really don't, and this gets to Kevin's point as well when it comes to Alejandro Kirk. I just don't. The first game, I don't read anything into how guys are used.
It's a fair question, though, because there's going to be there's a lot on his plate.
It is a fair question. We've talked about how the back end of the bullpen with Romano and Swanson hurt, how there's going to be a lot of mixing and matching, and guys are going to have to step up. And Jack's entirely, the question makes sense. He's one of your most durable relievers.
It will be interesting with Kirky because he's a little wider at the plate, a little setting his legs a little bit more. The more tired he gets, what do you normally do? You stand a little taller. When he's taller, it just doesn't seem to work the way it's supposed to be working. So I'm sure they got that planned out too. Like they're, predictability. They're trying to predict the future. And I'm sure they've had khaki after khaki sitting around trying to do that.
Let's go to Jim in Hamilton.
Jim.
The Hammer.
5 and 5 is mediocre. Is what we got last year. Jeff, 5 and 5. P.S. Kevin, 6 and 4.
PS or BS?
Very underperforming. It should be 7 and 3. With Cole out, Verlander out, boys should get her done.
I mean, that's 7-3 is a tall order. 6 and 3 would be really good. You'd be feeling good about yourself. You could build off that. 6 and 4. What did I say? 6 and 3. 6 and 4. 6 and 4. You could build off that. You confidence and. Been a tough day for me.
It has been.
So, look, 7 and 3, that's gravy. 6 and 4, you're building off that. You're gaining momentum. You're coming home.
5 and 5 is fine.
I just don't think they can build off that. I think it feel like the same old team again. I think it's a big deal for them. I do.
And I don't know, man. Three teams that are playoff contenders. One team that I've picked to go. One of those teams is a team I picked, and a lot of other people have picked to go to the World Series. You come back 5-5. It is. It is. But I understand it. It's you do want to build. You want to create a sense of excitement that so far I'm not seeing or feeling. Right.
Yeah.
And because of the type of off season they've had, and maybe that makes it important. Paul and Coburg.
Paul.
Just want to jump in on this MVP conversation. If it stood for most valuable person, include pitchers. Otherwise, MVP is a player. Have a great day. Enjoy the show.
I like that, Paul. I did.
You looked it up, Kevin?
I did. Well, there's 21 starters and 4 relievers. That just would tell you
that have what?
Have won the MVP. That would just go to show you how sometimes the people that vote for that make you want to scratch your head a little. And obviously have never tried to play 7 days a week at the big league level at the highest level possible. I'm not saying that there's not times and years where, you go outside the box and there's just no offensive player that makes sense. And this one pitcher has just done things that's so special. 25 of them? Come on. Again, I'm not saying that the pitchers are not very important. They play once a week. Why didn't you pick a pitcher this year then for your MVP vote? Why didn't you
have an MVP vote?
I'm talking about when we made our picks.
Yeah.
Why did you not pick a pitcher? Why did you not say I'm picking this? I'm picking whoever to win the MVP.
I don't think anybody goes into the year thinking that a pitcher is going to be the most valuable player.
Because it doesn't make any sense.
No. It's just nobody goes into the year thinking that a pitcher is going to be the most valuable player, but it does happen. And again, a closer, if you've got a closer that has 55 saves and your team wins the division by a game and a half or something like that, I'm sorry. I got a hard time not putting that guy in there.
Have won more MVP, or more starting pitchers have won more MVPs than shortstops have. Now, I know the way you look at shortstop's a little different now than you did 15 years ago because of what you're trying to do at shortstop and run producing and all those things. It's changed, but 21's a big number. So I guess, everybody has their opinion. That's the beauty of sports. My opinion is trying to do it at the highest level 7 days a week.
Okay, let me ask you.
It's very, very hard.
Let me ask you this, because there have been situations where this has arisen. You got a guy with 50 home runs and a team that finishes last. Or a guy with 50 saves.
Is he 50 for 50?
Pretty close to that, yes.
No, he'd have to be 50 for 50.
Wow. Okay. You'd rather have the 50 homer guy in a lousy team.
He's an every. It depends on what the other numbers are, and how everybody else matches up against that.
Okay. I just think it's.
Mike Trout wins it, and that team stinks.
We can't. Well,
they stink.
That's a completely different argument, though. That's a completely different argument. Mike Trout. There's a difference between being the most outstanding player and the most valuable player. I'm sorry. I don't think you can win an MVP award in a team that stinks. I just don't. I just don't.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Everybody has their opinions.
It's true. It's just that mine happens to be right. George in Toronto.
George.
Given what we've seen this offseason, it does look like players that extended with their current clubs did better than players that went to free agency, which is kind of a reversal of at least the Boris theory of free agency. And I wanted to know whether you thought that could have an effect on the thinking behind a potential extension among the Blue Jays or among those people. Interested in your thoughts on this. Thanks.
Let me ask you a question, Jeff. Do you think at any time that Blake Snell or Jordan Montgomery had a conversation with their family saying out loud that they should fire Boris?
No.
No. You don't think so? No. After we were thinking that Jordan Montgomery was getting 5 for whatever that number was. It's a big number. Not 1 for something.
No, I think guys will. I think a lot depends on the annual average salary. I don't think anybody's going to. I don't think guys are necessarily going to fire Scott Boras because of that. Scott Boras, at the end of the day, what
most of the time
what were we talking about with Jeff Passan about a month ago about how there have been off seasons in the past where Scott Boras had a bunch of clients that signed late, and then the next year he signed like $1 billion worth of contracts at the winter meetings. I think the regional sports network aspect of things had a much greater impact on this than major league teams kind of getting together quietly and saying they're not going to sign Scott Boras clients. It also may be that in the case of Montgomery and Snell, maybe. I mean, here's the thing: if you don't have to go long term to sign a pitcher, why would you? Why would you go long term to sign Jordan Montgomery? I think what happens is the longer a guy is out there, the more teams look at this and go, well, I'd rather pay him $40 million for 1 year than spread out the money. So as to Bo's free agency, first of all, Bo isn't a Boras client, I don't believe. Not a Boras client. Bo's a shortstop. Shortstops, okay, Carlos Correa is an example there, but look at what happened to Carlos Correa. Yeah, he had to wait for a while, and he ended up in a good situation. Bo's going to be a free agent shortstop. He's going to play at 27 in the first year of that contract. If he maintains his defense or gets even better, he's going to become more valuable. And this is a guy who maybe has a batting title by then, gets a lot of hits. Bo's going to be paid. Bo is going to be paid outrageously
because of where he's hitting in the order too. What if people now think he can protect and run produce?
What about that?
How about that? Well, you would think he'd get paid more. Like it's only going to be good for him.
Yeah. To
show people that he can do everything in any part of the order you put him in.
And the thing with Bo is last year notwithstanding, the guy plays every day. I think we're at the point now where with Bo and Vladdy, we just need to assume that they're not going to be signing long-term. I mean, I've talked about this. I think the train left the station with Vladdy a long time ago. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. And I thought that when Bo signed his, the extension to cover these final arbitration years, to me, that at least gives you a starting point to negotiate a longer-term contract because you've already agreed on the player's value through his arbitration years. But no, I don't think what happened to Scott Boras's clients will have any impact at all on Bo.
Yeah, I think it takes.
I'm going to say this. I will say this. There are two dudes I'm watching very closely for next year. One is Juan Soto, a free agent. If Juan Soto doesn't get $500 million from somebody, then I think you need to have an investigation. And the other guy is Alec Bregman, Boras client. And I'm going to be very interested in seeing how that particular situation develops with Alec Bregman. If Alec Bregman decides to re-sign with Houston instead of going the free agent market, I think right now we're trying to read a little too much into it. I just think that regional sports network market took the Texas Rangers out of the running. The Boston Red Sox, who would spend a lot of money, they seem to have concerns about staying under the salary or under the luxury tax. And I think Boston's smart. I think Boston looked at the division and said, there isn't anybody out there, a free agent out there, that is really going to make a difference to us winning the division or going. There just isn't. Shohei Ohtani, maybe. But if you're the Boston Red Sox, you sign Blake Snell. What does that do? Does that get you a playoff spot? Probably. Maybe. Does it make you a team threaten World Series caliber team? No. So I think the Red Sox decided that they, at this point in time, just take a step back. The Jays are coming, the Jays, the clock's moving in the Jays. The Orioles are already good. Tampa Bay, let's wait and see. The Yankees, they may not have Soto next year. So I kind of agree with what the Red Sox are doing. And I think taking Boston and Texas out of the equation, that's two big money markets.
Yeah, I will be intrigued about Bo Bichette, though. I think if Bo has a really good year hitting in the 3-hole.
Oh, I
think you got to revisit about where you're trying to go with Bo and
that you think the Jays do.
I do. I would. Why wouldn't you?
Oh,
if he can show you he can do everything.
I've told you. I would have
everything in a lineup and the way he's playing defense now.
I would have signed Bo 2 years ago.
Ask yourself if you're a fan of the Jays. You care the ball hits the shortstop now? I don't.
No,
like it's an out.
I would have signed Bo. I would have signed Bo 2 years ago and given him the biggest contract in club history. That's just me. Steve in Manitoba. Steve.
I'm just wondering what you think about the decision to keep Vogel back on the team. I'm wondering what happens when Joey Votto's ready. I mean, how many games is Vogelback actually going to get into where he can make a difference before Votto's ready? I would have rather seen them keep Lucas and take their chance on the first 10 or 11 games until Votto's ready. But anyway, like to hear what you think about it. Love the show. Bye for now.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, look. I think Joey Votto, if he had not have gotten hurt in spring training, he'd be on the team. Would be Vogelbach. I do really think that. I think they like the competitive at bat with a dude at second more from Votto than they do Vogelbach. Actually, I know that for a fact they do. But I think it's the threat of the lefty off the bench. Lucas don't give you that, and nobody's afraid of him. No. It's not. They're not afraid of him. They're afraid of Vogelbach. The track record. They know. Look, they know. If they throw a good breaking ball to him, they get him out. But if they don't, I mean, he's got a good chance of hitting that thing to Jupiter. And I think that's to your point when Dan was on here. It's making it easier for John to go to the right guy. It's not I got two guys over there that are similar. Who am I going to? He doesn't have that anymore. He's got a lefty with power. He's got a righty with power. He's got a guy in Clement who can bat the ball skills and hit the ball line to line. It's pretty self-explanatory. Whichever situation arises, like late in the game for IKF, Vogelbach will come up with that righty throwing 100. So yes. I think it simplifies it. And, again, where is Joey? I mean, you're reading, and I haven't really asked.
I kind of got the impression based on what Ross Atkins said that we're talking about a month.
Yeah, it sounds like May.
Yeah.
It just sounds like the ankle thing was worse than we thought it was.
He hasn't had spring training.
And I will say this, too. If you're going to do right by Vogelbach, you can't bring him to the team for a week and then get rid of him when he ain't really even played and contributed to the team and that kind of thing. So that would give you a little room to let Joey go down there and sort of figure out whatever Joey's trying to figure out.
And I think we saw very early, clearly somebody in the organization likes Nathan Lucas, but, let's be clear. IKF plays the outfield. Kevin Biggio plays the outfield.
Schneider plays the outfield.
Ernie Clement plays the outfield. Nathan Lucas doesn't give you anything.
Nope.
Doesn't give you anything. And
he made the team last year, never played.
Exactly. So that tells you all you need to know about Nathan Lucas. No name in Ontario.
Hey, Jeff and Kevin. I know it's small sample size in just one game, but just wondering if what you saw yesterday changes how you guys are feeling about the way the season might go this year and what our chances might be to make a long run and hopefully make the playoffs and do some damage. Again, one game in, but an impressive game, and I think it turned some heads.
It hasn't changed.
They were a playoff team when spring training started for me. I've said this. How do you – pitching and defense will get you to the playoffs. Yeah, then you need sort of more.
Let's keep in mind this was a playoff team last year.
Yeah, what's the more? Can the more – making a deep run in the playoffs, there's a lot better teams in the American League for me than the Blue Jays. Can they beat the Twins in a first round of a playoff series? Yeah, I think so. Like that. That's the ultimate goal here, right, is to win the first series and move on. Can they do that? Sure. They got one of the better rotations, one of the better bullpens when everybody's healthy. They got the best defense in the American League when everybody's where they should be standing. And offensively, if they keep preaching the do damage, again, I'm going to ask John about the two-strike approach because that's sort of what it screams, right, is if you're going to do the damage thing and take pitches, what's that scream, Jeff? That screams you got to be good with two strikes as a team. Not great, good. Have they been preaching that? Have they been talking about that? So, yeah, look, and for whatever reason, the ball's flying off Vladdy's bat. Why? I want to ask. I want somebody to tell me why that is. Is it just hand movement? Like, we said that last year. I said that. He's got too much hand movement. Then you come out and find that he's hurt. Hey, his words, not mine. Mm-hmm. And now he's got a new trainer in the offseason. Why is the ball? I know that's the first thing I noticed in spring training when I was standing around the cage.
You made that
the
point.
The ball was jumping off his bat, and he wasn't trying to force it to jump off his bat. Why is that? I want to ask John. John will have a great answer. He'll give the right answer. If those things continue and you continue to see the approaches, like I know it's one game, but how do you not get excited? If they can somewhat match the starting rotation with that approach because they have talent, man, how can you not be excited?
Yeah, I'm certainly not going to change my mind about the team based on one game. But as we said on Blue Jays Talk last night, when you spend all spring hearing about a particular message being preached, and you see that shown during opening day, I think for a lot of people, and we also have to be clear that not everybody's followed spring training every day like we have. Yeah. But people sat down yesterday, the season's starting, and they would have been impressed. So, yeah, listen, making a good first impression in somebody is never a bad thing. And when you spend all this time talking about a certain philosophy and you see it manifest itself, which it did in that game, you got to feel good about it. But this team's won what, five opening days in a row? They've won 5 opening day games in a row.
Yeah, but it's how they lost last year.
Well, I was going to say, how many playoff games have they won during that time? No, but I'm saying, if people ask you, the fact that they had a good game on opening day, does that change your opinion? It doesn't change my opinion about everything, other than, it's nice to see all the stuff that has been talked about in spring training demonstrate.
Yeah, it's simple, right? The do damage on your pitch. It's simple. You're not overwhelming them with information that nobody can understand except somebody that's wearing a different color.
Seeing this team hit home runs is good.
The right guys
is good.
The right guys hitting the home runs, good. Which is awesome, right? You're sprinkling it throughout everybody. The 9-hole hitter hit a homer. The leadoff hitter, your 2-hole hit, like the guys that were supposed to be hitting the homers hit them. I just like it's a simple approach, and it's sort of everything's lined up. I mentioned the names in the right positions in the order. It seems like now you got the right name coaches in the right spots. Now maybe you believe in Donnie Baseball a little bit more.
You looking at me?
Oh, I am a little.
I don't believe in Donnie Baseball.
Offensive coordinator, some would roll your eyes at that.
Well, you were. You were the first eye roller.
Football.
You were the first eye roller that I saw.
Yeah, that just screams that you're going to overthink it. Until I actually went to spring training and was standing around the cage listening to the conversations, and then you get a real sense of what he brings, why they put him in that spot, and how that can help the people that matter the most in that line.
My only question about it was, did these guys not realize last year
what took you so long?
The type of career this guy had, and I'm talking about the players. I understand that there is a pecking order amongst the coaches, but if I'm an elite hitter and it's not working for me, and I got a guy who could be in the Hall of Fame here, I mean, I know who I'm going to talk to.
Yeah, I wonder, too. It makes you wonder because of the simple wording of the approach, what they were trying to preach last year.
That is
I would love to know that because it just sounds simple, right? Don't swing at that because you can't hit it hard.
And I'll ask John this as well when he comes on. But I also wonder, this is not the try harder league. I get that. But you know what? I wonder if maybe Vladdy and Bo, they've heard it now for 3 years that you guys haven't won anything.
Yeah.
You guys haven't had good playoff series offensively. These are two pretty elite athletes who basically, through their minor league career, were placed on a different plateau than everybody else. And maybe there's something. Maybe they feel there's something to prove here. We'll talk to John about that. I'm not saying that makes you a better player, but maybe it changes the way you approach things in the offseason. I don't know. We'll find out. John Schneider's manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. He joins us next. Jeff Passan as well. Busy hour for Good Friday. A day where you don't have to go to work or don't go to school. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590. I can't believe you did that. Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590, The Fan on Sportsnet. All right, welcome back to Blair and Barker for Good Friday, March 29th, 2024.
Should have never told you that.
I would have found out. 6:50 will be the first pitch. Tonight, Chris Bassett against Aaron Savali, the Jays 8-2 winners over the Tampa Bay Rays in the season opener. Last night, a result, not just a result, but a result and a manner, or a victory, the manner of which brought, I would think, smiles to a ton of Blue Jays fans. Certainly did to us who were watching the game, and I've got to think that watching his team score runs the way they did Also brought a smile to our next guest. He is John Schneider, the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. John, thanks so much for joining us on Blair and Barker today. Congratulations on getting that first one out of the way. Before I let Kevin ask the in-depth questions, just a little bit of housekeeping here. Do we have any idea as to the status of Justin Turner, and will the lineup tonight be the same as the lineup last night, because it's not out, at least as I've seen, it's not out yet?
Yeah. Well, to answer your question, there was a few smiles going on watching the offense kind of do its thing last night for sure. JT is good to go. He'll be back in there tonight, and it's the exact same lineup as last night.
Why tinker with it if it's working? I made the point.
To go, Jeff.
Well, there you go. I'll tell you what, man. Stand back,
good, man.
Stand back and stay out of the way. We had a caller ask Kevin and myself whether or not the result last night changed our view of the team. And I understand what he was saying, and it's a great talk radio question. But the one thing I did kind of think about last night, John, is, and I'm sure you feel the same way, it's nice to talk about stuff in spring training. It's nice to have faith that guys are going about doing it in spring training. But when the season starts and the lights go on, yes, everybody knows it's just one game and you've got a lot of games left. But it is nice when the stuff you're working on in spring training shows up in the first game as well, isn't it? It's preferable to being shut out 12-0.
Right, exactly. I think spring training numbers are what they are, really. And what we were encouraged with was just the way the guys were going about their work and their at-bats and conversations that were going on. So, yeah, last night's result, I think, it was a pretty it was exactly kind of how we wanted it to roll out, for what we've been talking about, what we've been working on, what Donnie's been preaching. It was nice to kind of get that immediate result. And, now it's just continuing to do it. It's not going to be perfect every single night. And, everyone knows that, but it's a hard game. But I think to kind of, have it come to fruition, right in front of you against a really good team was a really good way to start.
John, whenever I hear you guys talk about do damage at bats, it sounds simple. Like, it is simple. That's don't swing at that thing because I can't hit it hard. I can't hit that to the moon. I ain't going to swing at it. But once you start having that approach, you start thinking about, maybe I got to have some at-bats with 2 strikes. Have you guys had conversations about 2-strike approaches? Because if you think about it, there's only a couple of guys in your lineup that I think have true 2-strike approaches, like a Bo, like a Kevin Biggio. Maybe you could throw Kiermaier in there. I don't think Kirky has one of those. Like, it's just not a true, I'm going to choke up, I'm going to widen out, I'm going to try and slap this to right. Have you guys had conversations about 2-strike approaches?
Yeah, everyone. When you get to that point, the conversation is basically, hey, you're going to battle. You're doing everything you can to spoil some pitches or put it in play. But before that, I think, is where we've made the most strides so far. Not in one game yesterday, but I think just collectively over the last month is where, really honing in on where you do damage. And then, the biggest part is how do you get a pitcher in that zone, right? They have the same info that we have, and they're going to attack each hitter accordingly. But just, it's knowing what you do damage on, but then again, laying off of the things that you're not going to do damage on until you get to 2 strikes. So that's been the conversation, where I think in years past it maybe hasn't been as deep as that. It's similar, but I think just having the guys understand where they really handle the ball, and then in turn how to work an at bat to get the ball where you want it.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to this, and this is awesome because now you're starting to think about your lineups really good, which is kind of cool. I've heard you talk about pile-on runs. Is there if somebody asks you how a lineup does it, what would your answer be?
Exactly how we did it last night, really. I think, you have the homers. George gets us going, Cav hits it, Vlad hits it, but then Kirky's at bat. Just with the single up the middle, Bo's double down the line, the situation's going to come up, right? And I think when guys are convicted in a plan against a specific pitcher, not just a starter, that's where you can add on runs, So it's kind of it's taking the situation out of it almost. Yeah, there's guys on base, runners in scoring position, whatever it may be. But it still comes down to what am I going to do against this guy? And, odds are when guys are on base, you're going to see more mistakes. Those are the two at-bats that stuck out to me, Kirky and Bo yesterday, that kind of – we didn't see a lot of that last year to where, okay, you get back into it or you take a lead and you kind of, stall a little bit. But I think adding on those runs just by having a convicted approach against a specific guy is the difference.
I was thinking about this last night watching Bo and Vladdy, and you'd be the perfect person to ask. I don't know if either one of them would come out and say, I feel I have something to prove. I don't necessarily know if they're wired that way. But, John, these guys were highly touted as minor leaguers. They've come up. They've had impressive years. 1 year in particular for Vladdy. Bo's had years where he's had a lot of hits. They haven't had postseason success. Do we maybe sometimes underestimate how much elite athletes, and they are elite athletes and elite players, how much postseason success does mean to them, and that maybe, just maybe, these guys feel they have to prove something this year?
Yeah, I mean, they want that, like we all do, and like our entire fan base does. It's like, yeah, that's what's going to separate you from being really good to being someone that's really remembered for a long time. So that's not. I mean, that's kind of on the back burner now. I think that they understand that they're really good, but it's just you got to get there for one, and then from there, hopefully you can turn that page a little bit and roll deep into the postseason. But I think more so than anything, in conversations with them this spring and in the off season, it's kind of like, okay, we just need to take another step professionally, and whether it's individually or professionally, it's just like, okay, we're not that young anymore, and we need to kind of take hold of what we're trying to do, and then hopefully that just translates over the course of the season, and then when you get to the postseason, it's just more of the same. So I can't speak for them, but I wouldn't doubt the fact that they want to prove everyone that when the postseason comes around, they're going to be out there performing and getting the big hit or whatever it may be. But it's the process that leads up to it is what they're focusing on right now.
John, whenever I was standing around the batting cage in spring training, I was telling Jeff this a little bit earlier, that Vladdy was not trying to force distance. Like, last year it was, I'm giving it everything I got, coach. You just ain't going where I want it to end up, right? It's not going over the fence. That's my best bolt. Right. It just seemed like in spring training he wasn't doing that. And in that ball last night he hit, it's just free and easy. He's going to hold his finish, right? That's sort of what the great ones do. It's not how you start with your swing. It's how you finish. Do you have any idea why now the ball is just jumping off his bat like it hasn't the last couple of years?
Well, for one, I think his mechanics are really tight right now. I think his hand movement has been minimized a little bit, and when your mechanics are right, you make better decisions of what you're going to swing at, and I think that's kind of where he's at right now. And for whatever reason, hitters go through ups and downs where, mechanics are such a big part of your swing. If you lose it for a little bit, it kind of sets everything back, if you will. But Vlad's approach, Kev, you hit the nail on the head. Spring training was just living left center to right center and with the right swing plane. You know what I mean? So you can say that all you want, but if your mechanics are not allowing you to do that, you're kind of, swimming upstream, if you will. So I think his mechanics are good for one. And he's just really focusing on staying left center to right center with the right swing plane. And then when he does that, with the way he hits the ball off the bat, he doesn't need to force any kind of distance, as we saw last night.
Okay, how about, whenever I talk to Pete Walker in spring training, he yelled at me when I asked this question. So please don't yell at me. I said this year, well, you guys were sixth worst last year in controlling the running game.
You could say 24th.
You gave up a lot. Well, there's no difference. Potato. You gave up a lot of stolen bases, and it just seems like, right, that's sort of the pressure that these teams, the Rays are trying to do it. They did it. They were trying to do it last night. Is there some, point of emphasis being put on this from coaches or, from pitching staffs that maybe slide step, hold it a little longer? Pitch timer is going to be a little harder to do this. But have you been thinking about this, trying to control that?
Yeah, absolutely. We talk about it all the time. And I think with the rules now, coming in last year, it's promoting base stealing. The MLB has said that. Everyone kind of knows that with the clock and all the other disengagement rules. But you can say it a million times, and I think what happens, with not just our pitchers, but pitchers around the league, they kind of get, lost into what they're doing and what pitch they're trying to execute. And the really, really good ones are the ones that can do both. They're executing at a high rate, and they're also taking into account the game situation, whether it's working the clock or having your A move all the time or mixing in a couple slide steps when needed. We have DeMarlo running the running game, just like, Donnie doing it last year. I thought did a great job. It comes down to the pitchers giving the catchers a chance, really. Being a former catcher, if the pitcher's dropping a 1-5 to the plate, you don't have much of a shot. So sometimes that's on the pitcher, sometimes it's on the catcher, but it is a conversation that happens every single day with Pete and the staff, and you target exactly who's going to run, whether it's Randy or Siri or Caballero here. Like, we know that. And then it just comes down to when you're in the situation, you got to kind of take a step back and say, okay, I'm not just making pitches. I'm figuring out a way to counteract what they're trying to do to me on the bases.
John, what do you need to see offensively from IKF to play him? I shouldn't put a number on it, but I say five or 6 days a week.
I mean, just his profile, he puts the ball in play. He's gonna run into his fair share of home runs, and he understands how he fits in a lineup. We're not looking for him to, step in and I don't want to say be a driving force of our offense. It all works together 1 through 9, but it's just being himself. It's being a baseball player, moving a runner, getting a guy in, grinding out an 8-9 pitch at bat. It's just how he complements our lineup. So you just need him to be him. He understands game situations very, very well. He understands what pitchers are trying to do to him very well. And it's just, putting a good at-bat out there every single time is what we're looking for out of Izzy.
Do we have any idea yet, or do you have any idea yet when Kevin Gossman's turn will come up?
Yeah, I definitely have an idea.
Oh. And it is?
No, we'll see. We'll probably have it finalized later today, or even tomorrow. It's going to come down to whether he throws Sunday or Monday, last game here or first game in Houston. So we're still kind of putting the finishing touches on that, but kind of working in conjunction with Kev a little bit and how he's feeling, and when the next time he gets off a mound today, and see how he's feeling. But we kind of have Plan A and Plan B. Right. And but have a pretty good idea when it's going to be.
Yeah, I was going to say, so clearly he feels, knock on wood, clearly he feels that there's nothing complicating the decision right now other than what he thinks, basically, is the way I would put it.
Yeah, I mean, and again, you can look at matchups here versus Houston and
right.
A lot of right-handers in each lineup. And the bottom line is you want Kevin Gausman on the mound as much as you can, and whether that's against a division opponent or an American League force the last 10 years. You want Kevin Gausman out there. So it's a lot of things get factored into, in terms of how many days rest it would be from when he pitched in Bradenton, what his next term would be like after an off day next week, things like that. And you don't want to do too many off days, but you want to give him a little bit of, ample time to keep ramping up. So all those things are kind of going into the equation.
And I'm intrigued when we talked to Dan Shulman about this as well a little bit earlier. The bottom of the order, the decision to have Biggio hitting 9th and Kiermaier hitting 7th. What did that come down to? I understand it's I don't know if it's potato necessarily, but what sort of helped you determine which of those two lefty hitters would go in particular spot?
There's a few things that go into it. For one, I think, with the way they're both swinging the bat, Cav got a little bit of a late start to spring, for one. And then two, where you feel most comfortable pinch hitting in a lineup. Is it going to be when a lefty comes in at 7, 7 through 9 with two lefties? Are you going to pinch hit at 7? Are you going to pinch hit at 9? And then kind of what each guy does against certain pitcher types, right? So, I mean, Cav yesterday was a typical day from him, a couple walks, homer. You want him to if he's doing that, you want him to get on base at a pretty high clip and then kind of set the table for George and Vlad and Bo. So that's kind of where we landed. It could change, what I mean? It could change, between 5 to 9 kind of deal. Right. But I think with the way Kev was swinging it, Kev had a really good spring, I thought. And, just understanding the type of hitter that he is. And then really it comes down to how do you pair Kevin's skill set? If he's going to be getting on base at a pretty good rate, do you want that in the 7 hole for an Izzy and a KK, or do you want that in the 9 hole for George and Vlad?
John, do you have a blueprint for Alejandro Kirk when it comes to keeping him sharp with his conditioning. And what I mean by that is offensively, look, his bat looks quicker. And that's what you want to see from him, right? He's sitting in them legs a little bit more, right? And that means he's fresh and raring and ready to go. How do you keep it that way? Because we did have a caller call in after the game last night and mention, you got a big lead late in the game there because of what you're trying to ask Kirky to do. Why wouldn't you just take him out and bring in Servin? Is there plans maybe to do that down the stretch, or is it here, Kirky, your name's in the lineup? Go get him.
Pretty much, hey, Kirk, your name's in the lineup, go get him. I feel like we and me feel a lot better about where he is physically compared to last year, with him being in town in January, working his way through spring training, not missing any time, and just the work that he's put in. There's a ton of objective numbers that we have from strength and conditioning and all that kind of stuff. And, Kirky's in a great spot. He is as strong as he's ever been. And he knows, with Jano being out, he's going to get the lion's share of the duty back there. So there's going to be days he's not going to catch every game this series. You try to line him up for the 3 against Houston before an off day before we go to New York. But Kirky's ready for it. I think that he'd be the first one to tell you that he feels pretty damn good right now. But there's definitely a plan with him, being a physically demanding position back there. And then, with everyone else, if there's a spot where we can get him out, we're going to get him out. And, Kirky's no different. But for right now, he understands what's in front of him the next couple of weeks, and he's ready to roll.
Yeah, that's some great stuff. This last one before we let you go. Jimmy Garcia and Chad Green, what are some of the challenges for you on how you're going to use them?
Yeah, for one, we don't want them to do anything different than what they've been doing, right? Just because you got Jordy and Swanee out, they're going to be thrust into a couple, higher leverage spots, but you like to keep at least one of them available each night for, later in the game. And it's going to lead to other guys, whether it's Nate or Trev, like they did yesterday, to pick up an inning, albeit that was, I think, a 4 and a 5 run lead, whatever it was. But they're going to be pitching in games that are going to be closer, to kind of bridge that gap to those two guys. So it's not much different, except you want to have one of those guys ready to close the game. And then for them, it's just not put any pressure on yourself because, you may be used to coming in the 6th or the 7th, and now it's the 8th and the 9th. It still all comes down to going out and making pitches, which at this point in time, with the way they threw the ball in spring, and especially late in spring, they're ready to do.
John, good stuff. As always, we appreciate your time. Go get him.
Yeah, good luck, buddy.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the time. Talk soon.
See ya.
Take care. That's John Schneider, manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. 6:50 is the first pitch tonight. Chris Bassett on the mound for the Blue Jays. Aaron Savali, the Jays looking to win their second game in a row after an 8-2 win last night. That interesting conversation with John Schneider and several issues. The explanation for and I understand it wasn't a major talking point necessarily, 7, 8, 9, but it does tell you something about how John Schneider and the Jays coaching staff, they are maximizing what those two positions are going to get them. And, without saying it so clearly, I think essentially what John said is you've got a guy in Kevin Biggio who's got a pretty good chance of getting on base. You'd rather have George Springer coming up after him than IKF or, maybe even Kevin Kiermaier. You can't put it in a very delicate way, in a delicate way. But one of the things this lineup has to do is you have to kind of, I don't want to say disguise where IKF is, but you got to make sure that spot, you got to make sure you're not putting too much emphasis on that spot, right? You don't want that spot coming up a great deal with men in base. To be
I
quite
think
honest.
he's got other options too. I think it's a get it done time, and I think if IKF's not getting it done offensively, defensively he'll be okay.
He's going to be fine. He's going to be more than.
It's side to side. He's really good at. He's got a strong enough arm. He's accurate with his arm. He'll keep it in front of him. He sort of plays that position because of the scoreboard, like he did last night. He ain't trying to turn no double plays, keeping it in front of him, getting one out. That's a big deal when you got a lead. That's called a veteran. That's what you want there.
You saw Jose Barrios' reaction after that play.
Absolutely. Right? And that's the first thing I thought of, too, when I was watching that. And offensively, I'm not sure that I'm as pumped up about it as John is, just because
pumped up about
him. I just don't know. Can he hit a fastball?
That's what I'm saying. I think you're basically do that. You're trying to hide him in that lineup.
Yeah, it's hiding him's hard. Now it's hard. You gotta your plan has to be on point a lot of the times. See ball, hit ball, like I used to try and do, and a lot of people that I used to play with tried to do, can't do that anymore. They throw too hard. They use their breaking stuff too much in fastball counts. See ball, hit ball. It just ain't happening anymore. You got to have a zoned in. This is why John continues to say this plan when you walk to the plate and piling on runs.
Yeah.
Like that plan has to be on point, right? You got to really know, what I do damage on. What's he want to do to me with 2 strikes? Like you got to know that before you walk to the plate. It's just not see ball, hit ball. So I think he has other options. He's very comfortable 7 through 9 to scramble it up because of who's on the bench. Who he's got playing now, matchups, those kind of things. And, he could put Kevin in the 7 hole. He could maneuver it around to make it look differently and just make it harder for an opposing manager to sort of match up and try and make it tougher for them to get them out 1 through 9. So, yeah, I like the way it is now.
So
I think Kevin Kiermaier can be Kevin Kiermaier now. He wants to get frisky, party out front occasionally.
Party out front.
He wants to try and do that. Because he can. Let him hit 15 homers.
Yeah.
Let him. And he just doesn't feel like he can do it in the 9 hole. So maybe put him in the 7 hole and let him try and do it sometime.
So let's just tick off some talking points here. According to the skipper, the same lineup as last night.
Turner's healthy.
Turner's healthy.
Yeah.
It's a big deal after getting hit on the hand.
Gloves off of Kirky, playing him till they can't play him anymore.
Gloves off of Kirky. Basically, yeah. Kevin Gossman is going to start Sunday or Monday, depending on. I would think Sunday too, depending on how
6
he feels.
6 full days
today.
rest is a lot.
6 full days rest, and
it's a lot.
You also want. I would think you'd want Kevin Gossman against an AL East
team. And the
team.
numbers in Houston aren't very good.
The numbers in Houston aren't very good.
Yeah.
So that puts him against an AL East team. And does that allow him to face he would face the Yankees then too at Yankee Stadium.
Last game, I think.
So, which raises the question, I guess, who pitches the opener, the home opener here? Probably, we don't have to worry about that right now. It's 10 games into the season. Do you think getting the home opener assignment, does that make a difference when you're 10 games into the season? Compared to being the opening pitcher at home on opening day. I don't think it does anymore. Do you?
I don't know. I think the veteran guys who've gotten paid and are just trying to win a baseball game, I don't think they care where they pitch.
No. I think opening day is still a thing, but
absolutely.
I don't know about...
That's a giant deal. Yeah. Like everybody wants to. You hear
I wondered
Barrios
about that.
talk about the opening day, like how much that means to him and the strides he's taken forward to, hopefully, and especially the way the season ended. So, yeah. So hopefully, look, you can hear it in John's voice. He really likes the lineup now. And I think he likes, I think Don Mattingly, as much as we sometimes wonder what he was bringing, it seems to me like, I saw it firsthand. I made it a point. I got as close as I could possibly get to the conversation without actually being a part of the conversation.
Yeah.
I was trying to hide, camouflage myself. And I heard it up front. And he's very direct. It's not a lot of wasted words. That's why do damage. It's real simple. That's why I mentioned that to John. It's real simple. Like there's no outside the box thinking. It's not mechanical. Because at this level, most of these guys have gotten, you're going to tweak mechanics. It's like Vladdy. The hands move too far down. They got to go way back up. Then you're late. You're playing, alligator arm with your barrel, and you hit a bunch of ground balls to the pull side. Fix that. And that's the first thing John had mentioned. That's why the ball's flying off the barrel the way it is. So, yeah, look, I think it's simple that way. He likes that 1 through 9. They have a consistent approach, and it sure seems like they feel confident enough to walk up to Donnie Baseball than the other guys and say, how do you get out of this quicker? What did you do when you didn't feel right? Help me connect the 2 dots, and maybe you can see the best out of me. And what better guy to go talk to than him? He used to get it done, boy.
So 6:50 will be the first pitch tonight on Sportsnet 590 The Fan and Sportsnet. The Jays lineup is the same as last night. Justin Turner is back in the lineup. The Rays lineup, I believe, is the same. I think Ben Rortvedt is the starting catcher for them tonight. Should be the only change. Aaron Savali on the mound for the Rays.
Giant curveball. Big spin,
Chris Bassett for the Blue Jays.
on the curveball.
So what is your approach?
Well, I don't hit it.
Seeing Zach Eflin,
nobody else
can
hit
Aaron Savali. What's your approach?
Nobody. Well, they both got really good breaking balls. If nobody else can hit the breaking ball, why do I think I can? I think that's the first thing you got to tell yourself going into an at bat. And don't change a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, he throws a breaking ball early in the count, and I don't think I can hit that thing to the moon. Why would I swing at it? Yeah, but it's recognizing it out of the hand. It's being short and quick. It's having a consistent, simple lower half. Not a lot of ton of movement. Get the foot down, get athletic quicker, so your eyes are not moving as much. You can see the ball sooner. When you do that, you can recognize pitches a little quicker. He's a good pitcher. He's sort of simplified things. He's not throwing as many pitches now. He used to be a 5 or 6 or 7 pitch guy. Now he's simplified that enough. Now he's attacking you more in quadrants with 3 or 4 pitches than 5 or 6 pitches, and that big giant breaking ball that's spinning a ton. You got to figure out how to lay off that thing unless you have to swing at it with 2 strikes. So it's not going to be an easy thing to do. And this gets back to Bassett can keep you around. Give him a chance to have the big inning, just like they did last night. They do that, you can win a bunch of games that way.
Jeff Passan is ESPN's MLB Insider. He is one of our regulars, and he will join us when we come back. It's Blair and Barker for a Friday on Sportsnet 590 The Fan and Sportsnet.
Nightmare third for Kyle Freeland on his opening day. The first time in his career he allowed 7 consecutive batters to reach base.
The pitch, that's a base hit into right field. Top spin line drive that brings home Suarez. Thomas will hold it third. And the hitting parade just continues as the Rockies, they've been ambushed here in Chase Field.
Boy, ambushed. That was Geraldo Perdomo's RBI single. Make it 9-1 in the third inning yesterday. A 14-run inning for the Arizona Diamondbacks. A 16-1 win for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And that wasn't at Coors Field.
Yeah, you think if you're
that was in Arizona.
You think if you're a Rockies fan that you're overreacting about that team today? Absolutely not. You're thinking that's the worst team in baseball.
Well, we asked this question, talked about it. Who do you think has a chance of being better, the Rockies or the A's?
I don't know how the Rockies ever get better. You could see a little if Oakland moves and gets a new stadium. They could free agents want to come there. Hey, Chris Bryant wants to leave now.
Did you see?
And he's stealing money.
Did you
with the Rockies.
Did you see the shot of Chris Bryant? I think it was after the last hit, the hit that made it the 14-run inning. It was no, you know what it was? It was the rookie, the guy who got his first hit, Blaze Anderson. And he's standing on first base, and Chris Bryant has got this kind of not a smile. But yeah, it was kind of. It was like,
we're used to this.
Yeah. It was Blaze Alexander. Thank you. It was Blaze Alexander. But, Bryant, it's like you don't know whether to laugh or to cry, so you just try to sort of maintain as much of a neutral
He shouldn't do
stance.
anything except go play. That's what he should do. He shouldn't do
anyhow.
He's been stealing money for a long time.
That was a... That was the beatdown. That was a beatdown.
It was.
Shout out, by the way, to Tyler O'Neill of Maple Ridge, BC. Homered in his 5th consecutive opening day, this time with the Boston Red Sox. That breaks a record he shared with Yogi Berra, Gary Carter, and Todd Hundley. 3 catchers. Tyler O'Neill homering in 5 consecutive opening days. That is interesting.
It is. I'm rooting for him. I hope he has a good season.
Yeah. That lineup's interesting. I'm not getting carried away about the Red Sox, obviously, but
nobody said the lineup's not good.
That lineup is that lineup.
Devers must
lineup's going to be interesting.
He's really good.
It is Friday, and that means it is time for our MLB Insider Jeff Passan of ESPN to join us. Hello, Mr. Passan. Happy New Year. Happy belated opening day, et cetera, et cetera. It's nice to have real, live, honest to goodness regular season baseball back. I know that the Dodgers and the Padres opened the season, but it was kind of nice to turn on the laptop yesterday and see all these games across the top of the screen, and the same thing today. Having said that, we do have a lot to talk about. Having said that, though, Barker and I kind of went off in this tangent before the show. The Rockies. I remember when the Rockies were good. And Barker's point is, is there any hope for this team? And
no,
there isn't, because nobody wants to. I mean, who the hell wants to pitch there?
That's a great question.
I don't know. Maybe new ownership is needed, but Jeff, we kind of forget the Rockies when we look at all the quote unquote, the teams that have quote unquote issues in baseball. They're just not good.
They're really not good, and their farm system does not have the guys that they should for picking as high in the draft as they do every year. So, I'm not saying it's hopeless, but if they're, the A's don't even count.
Mm-hmm.
Like hopeless doesn't begin to describe where they're at as an organization, but talent-wise, I think they might actually be better than the Rockies. It's a pretty grim situation there, man.
Yeah,
and
that's such a great market too.
It is hard to give up. It is hard to give up 14 runs in one inning.
It is.
Yeah.
Like it is. Did you see the hits too?
Yes.
I mean, there were I think there were 2, maybe 3 extra base hits in there.
But there was a lot of exit velo.
How do you go 12 for 15 with runners in scoring position? How do you do that?
You face the Rockies, apparently.
I guess. Overreact to somebody. Like we overreacted to the Jays lineup. Boy,
no, you did.
We ain't never seen a lineup that good. The Jays have never had a lineup that good. Yeah, we overreacted a little maybe. Is there an overreaction for you from a team? I don't know, about a lineup, about a pitching staff, about a guy, maybe a team's going to be better than you thought? Like, overreact to something.
I'm not pandering here because I'm out in Toronto. I think the most eye-opening thing yesterday was that I think Ben Nicholson Smith is the one who said this. This is the best version of the Blue Jays, or something to this effect. Like, this is the ideal version of the Blue Jays right here. They hit, they are clean enough with the gloves, and they pitch really well. And I said on TV yesterday, I don't think that the Blue Jays are necessarily a playoff team, but this is one of those teams that scares me with predictions because I think there's the greatest variance between wins and losses in the American League in Toronto. I could see them absolutely winning 90-something games. I could see them absolutely winning, in the low 80s. And I don't know which version it's going to be because we see what they did yesterday, and it's like, how can you look at that team and think anything but, oh boy, this is a contender? Vladdy homers, Biggio is hitting, Barrios goes out and shoves, bullpen looks good, and that's without Romano. So all of these things are working, and they look like a team that's going to be right in the thick of things in the American League East. I just need to see it a lot more than once before I'm buying in that this is who they actually are now, because that's the ultimate question, right? Like, who is this team? Which version of themselves are they realistically?
Mm-hmm. Your article on ESPN about the payroll disparity in the game, it got me thinking because I'd been watching the off season and I've been saying to myself, this is kind of interesting. Kansas City adding players, Detroit adding players, and as you point out, though, at the same time, we're seeing payroll inequality reaching levels we haven't seen for more than a decade. But there don't seem to be as many teams, as you point out, punting on their seasons. Like Kansas City's not. Detroit's not. Texas, we know there was the regional sports network thing happening there. I mean, other than Oakland, and Oakland's in a completely different situation, and maybe Miami. I think Miami's got a philosophical thing there. It doesn't seem to me that anybody is really punting on it anymore. It's not like the old days where four teams would spend and nobody else would contend.
Yeah, there are 4 teams, I think, that you can put into that category. Clearly, Oakland is one of them. I have the Rockies there as well, and then there's the White Sox and the Nationals. Mm-hmm. And even the White Sox, Colson Montgomery is probably going to be up at some point this season playing shortstop, right. And James Wood and maybe Dylan Cruz are going to be up for the Nationals. So While they are not going to be year-long contenders, they're at least bringing in guys at some point in the season who are going to make it likelier that they win baseball games. But aside from that, you have 26 teams that have varying levels of confidence, but still have enough confidence that they're not punting entirely. And that to me is such a good place for the game to be. It's nice when Kansas City goes out and spends $100+ million. Mm-hmm. And it's nice when Cincinnati goes out and spends $100+ million. And it's nice when, Minnesota doesn't spend anything, but at least they have the core of a division-winning team there. And so while you've got a situation like Pittsburgh, whose playoff odds going into the season are only 6%, I don't have to, squeeze my eyes really hard to see a scenario in which the Pirates make the playoffs. It's that the American League Central is mediocre across the board. Mm-hmm. Jared Jones debuts and is as good as his stuff, which is, the triple-digit fastball and just really good power arm. And then Paul Skeens is up a month later, and I think we all know how good he can be. And O'Neal Cruz hits a home run, every 3 or 4 games. And look at what he did yesterday. And Brian Hayes finally takes the leap. None of these things are far-fetched, but all of them put together could lead to something. And that's where the almost 90%, vast majority of teams in baseball are right now, where either they are there or they're not far from being there, where playoff contention is a legitimate thing.
Do you think that will change the approach agents take in the offseason? I don't want to look ahead to the next offseason after the offseason we had, but there are some significant free agents that are going to be out there. Do you think that the end we may see a team like, I don't know, Kansas City, Detroit, one of those teams step up and go after one of the prime free agents? And conversely, do you think we might see a prime free agent say, you know what, maybe I'm gonna look at these guys instead of looking at just the 4 or 5 big market teams?
I don't know about Kansas City, but Detroit, absolutely. Let's not forget, Detroit had Miguel Cabrera, signed to an enormous contract extension. And now that that's expired, they've got Javier Baez signed to a fairly hefty one, but nothing too significant. They're going to have room to spend. I picked the Tigers to win the Central this year, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really like their young position players. I think Riley Green's a guy. I think Spencer Torkelson's good. Don't sleep on Parker Meadows. He may be the player that we thought his brother Austin was going to be. Colt Keith at second base is really going to hit. Kerry Carpenter. And then there's the pitching. And you guys saw Tariq Skubal yesterday, right?
Yeah.
He's throwing 99-mile-an-hour fastballs with pinpoint precision at the top of the zone. Mm-hmm. It's like there's a handful of guys in the world who can do that, and he is one of them. And he was the best pitcher in the second half in all baseball last year. And it's like, whoa, what have we got here alongside Kenta Maeda and Jack Flaherty, who looks to be improved, and Casey Mize, former number 1 overall pick, and Reese Olson, who locked down a rotation spot. And, by the way, Jackson Jobe might be the best pitcher in the minor leagues, and that's including Paul Skeens. I think I would take Skeens by a hair, but the separation between Skeens and Jobe is not a whole lot. And if you saw Jobe's inning in spring training this year with the big league club, he was 101 to 102 with a well above average changeup, cutter, curveball. and throws a slider too. Like it's a nasty mix of pitches, and he throws them all incredibly well. So if he can stay healthy, he should be up at some point this season. And when he is, it's just going to fortify Detroit that much more.
Jeff, how do you think the Angels look at the end of the season?
I don't think it's Rockies bad, but I think it may be close.
Wow.
And here's the thing. I like Zach Neto, and I like Logan O'Hoppe, and I like Nolan Schanuel, but they don't have a system, man. Like, they mortgaged and gutted. And then here's what they did. They essentially tried to flip a house, except they ran out of the will and the money to do it in the middle of it.
Right.
And then the thing just sits there half finished. And you've expended all of your capital in the process of doing so. And so they have this half-baked team, and Artie Moreno was willing to spend only so much money this winter to try and make it better, but they spent it on a bunch of relievers. And maybe that gives you a little better chance, but I believe Robert Stevenson's starting the year on the injured list, and there are others who are hurt right now, and it doesn't bode well for a team that needs every last bit of luck that it could get to be anywhere close to contention in that nightmare of a division that the American League West is.
Jeff, we had a caller on earlier today talking about Bo Bichette and wondering about the impact that the last 3 weeks of the free agent market might have on guys who are approaching free agency. Now, Bo isn't a Scott Boras client, but I'm wondering, do you think that there will be guys who will look at the way this market transpired, and I'm sure they've heard all the reasons we've heard. Do you think there may be guys that are looking at that and thinking, maybe I got to take a more serious look at staying with the team I'm currently with? Or do you think that this is going to be viewed as such an outlier that, guys aren't going to be taking that approach?
I don't think that's a maybe, Jeff. I think that's a definite yes. I think some guys are scared about what happened, and they can rationalize it by saying that, all four of the big guys who signed late and for less than expected were Scott Boras clients, and that was the reason behind it. But I think more than that, the reason behind it was that teams tend to be quite disciplined these days, and they understand that there's a point in the off season where if you wait too long, the leverage is just lost, and that even if you are a top end player, utilizing the leverage that you have is imperative, and that leverage comes not necessarily from scarcity, because let's remember, the Boras Four waited around until there was more or less nobody of their ilk left on the market. There was positional scarcity at that point. There was bat scarcity where it was like Bellinger, Chapman, and then Michael A. Taylor, and guys of that ilk, $5 million or so guys, as opposed to ones who wanted nine figures, and it just didn't work. And I don't think you can read too much into one free agent period, but I also think that it spooked some guys, no question about it. And so while I don't know that it's going to prompt Bo Bichette to give greater consideration to an extension, the gap between what you are capable of getting via extension these days and what you get in free agency has shrunk to the point where guys are unquestionably going to consider it. But in the case of Bo Bichette, who's due to reach free agency at 28?
I think he might even play at 27 in his free agent year.
27. Okay. So going into his age 28 season, that's like, I'm sorry, but all-star caliber 28-year-old shortstops, 27-year-old shortstops, they do really well in free agency, regardless of whether it's early or late. Because the market, there are some guys, and you can argue that Bo Bichette, he has flaws. He doesn't walk enough. And maybe he's not an elite defensive shortstop. But the guy can hit. Like, he can really hit. And he's going to get paid a lot of money because he can hit at the level he does.
Jeff, we're going to let you run. Thanks for doing this, man. Have a great weekend and travel safely.
Thanks, buddy.
Gentlemen, enjoy the baseball, please, as I know you shall.
We will. Take care.
See ya.
Jeff Passan of ESPN. And as we said, it's interesting hearing Jeff say that the gap between the money you can get in the free agent market and the gap you can get in some extensions has narrowed. But I just, that's the caller got me thinking about that. Who was it? George in Toronto got me thinking about that. But I just think the position, the numbers he's going to have, the age. I just think he's going to be.
He get Mookie Betts money. Start with a 3. Start with a 2. Start with a 1. Marcus Semien money.
This sounds really. Can I wait and see what he does this year?
I guess.
Because I think
would it help if he hit 10 more homers?
No, your point was well made though. If Bo has a really good year as a run producer, then maybe people do think of him not better but differently, and maybe there's more value there. I mean, I've said I would have. Shoot, if it was me, he would already have signed the biggest contract in club history.
But you were saying that he wasn't real good at catching a baseball.
No, but I still would have. But I knew I still would have signed him for that because I think he has potential to be one of the best players this organization's ever had. This organization has been a great organization. They haven't had a bunch of guys win batting titles, and I think Bo can be a multiple batting title guy. And I've been all in on Bo before, certainly.
Now moving around the order is going to hurt that. Like they're asking.
Well, that's why I asked yesterday. I asked Caleb yesterday because Caleb and Bo talk, and I wondered about that. And yes, I understand. Bo has got his contract, for the next couple of years, and you are employee number 11, but also he's getting to the stage in his career where moves that are made theoretically could have an impact on the money that he gets eventually.
Yep.
I don't know. Anyhow, it was a great discussion. 6:50 is the first pitch tonight on Sportsnet and Sportsnet 590 The Fan. We will be doing Blue Jays talk immediately following the Jays game against the Rays tonight. We will be back Monday from 2 to 4 Eastern on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Have yourself a great weekend. Enjoy the baseball.